Hello there, good to be with you. Welcome to Cruising with the Stars. Now today I've got a gentleman in. He's a wonderful vocalist, fabulous swing singer, and he's been described as the very best thing next to Tony Bennett himself, and that was by, I think it's Mark Fox, who's the president of the International Tony Bennett Appreciation Society. So it doesn't come much higher, the praise than that, does it, Gary?
Absolutely.
Good to have you with us today.
Nice to be here, thank you.
And I did comment when I saw you, I said, how immaculate you look. You look like you just, everything is pressed and immaculate and gorgeous.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe I went to bed in it, would you?
Go away with your mother. Right down to your gorgeous little feet.
Yeah,
You've only got little feet, haven't you?
Size 7.
Right, is it true?
It is true, yeah.
Oh dear.
But perfectly formed.
Absolutely,
yeah.
that's amazing. How long have you been singing for, Gary?
Pretty much all my life in one way, shape or form. And I started out when I was at school. I was picked out by my singing teacher as someone who she thought at least had some special talent. So from the age of 8, I've been taken around the country singing in front of people. And how those 20 years have flown by. And so, and then professionally, the last 15 years I've been singing. So.
Right, so when you knew that early on you had a good voice and your singing teacher actually identified the fact you had a good voice, you say you've only been singing full-time for 15 years. Did you not think of just going for it when, you know, as soon as you left school?
I think one of the things is if you're singing from that early age, you kind of take it for granted and you don't realise that you've actually been picked out and you're doing something different to other people.
Right.
You kind of think in your head, well, everybody's doing this, you know, and in a way, I have to say my singing teacher was a bit of an old school dragon type of person. And so singing lessons and things like that weren't the most pleasurable experience. And I'd rather be out playing football and all those things. So I kind of let it drift once I got a bit older.
Yeah.
But I always sang somewhere in one way or form. But later in life, I sort of thought, well, I used to do that singing thing and enjoy it, and maybe I should go back to try and doing that. So I sort of came back at it again later on. But
what did you do in the meantime?
Various things. I started off, my first job, I think, was in a menswear shop.
Yeah.
And I was a rent collector and all sorts of little jobs. And then I had a career in local government.
Right, what were you doing there?
I was working in housing departments around the country and all very successfully, but not very fulfilling.
No.
And I think that's the real thing you want out of life, isn't it? And then that's what made me think, well, maybe I should try that singing thing, because people, I still sang occasionally here and there.
So were you one of the ones that would always get up and do the karaoke or do charity shows? Or
things like that, yeah. Then people will always say to you, oh, you should do it professionally, as people do.
Yeah.
And so I thought, eventually, well, maybe I should. So I did, and I have not really looked back. So
that's brilliant. But you say it was 15 years ago. Do you have a family, sort of wife or children or anything?
No children, just my wife.
Right,
and,
because it's quite a big step to take when you're already a grown-up. You know what I mean? Because obviously you'd had a career, and then you get married, you have the mortgage, you have the responsibility. What was the tipping point that made you think, I'm going to give up my day job and that regular salary, and I'm going to try to be a singer?
I don't think it was a tipping point particularly. I think it was just a slow burner.
Yeah.
And you just constantly thought, well, maybe I can do that. And you see other people doing it.
Yeah.
And you think, well, maybe I should have a crack at that. And if it doesn't work out, I've still got all the business background that I can fall back on and perhaps go back to do something else. So, and luckily it has worked out. So,
yes.
So all well and good.
That's brilliant. Well, when you first actually made the decision and you became professional, you gave up your housing association, I'm assuming it is. You gave up that job. What was your first couple of months? What was your bookings book like? Had you made sure you had loads of work in?
Pretty much, yeah, because I sort of made myself known. I was living in Hull at the time. Yeah. And there's a nice little singing community in Hull, because it's where it is in the country. It's sort of isolated a little bit.
Yeah.
And there was a few agencies around there, and I entered a couple of talent competitions and got myself noticed, and they said, oh, you know, you should come and work for us, kind of thing. So I knew the work was there.
Brilliant.
And that pretty much being the nature of the game 15 years ago, your diary was full for the year. Yeah. So I felt fairly confident about that. And that was a good starting point, really.
All right, well, we're going to take a listen to you singing now. Here you are with Fly Me to the Moon.
Oh, it's often used so many words to say a simple thing, for it takes words and time and rhyme to make the poem sing. With music and words I've been playing. For you I have written a song, so you'll understand what I'm saying. I'll translate as I go along. Fly me to the moon and let me play among those stars. Let me know what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, darling, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you.
Wasn't that a beautiful version? That was really, really lovely.
Yeah.
Now, I've not heard that version before. Tell me a bit about it.
Right, well, it's a version of it with the little intro that few people do. Most people go straight into the song, but Tony Bennett introduced me, if you like, to that version.
Yes.
And I think at that point I was probably the only person other than him that was singing it like that.
Yeah, and is that the one that the president of the Appreciation Society had heard?
Yeah, I think he saw it on YouTube or
Yeah.
something and emailed me, and it was all very nice. And I got this email from this
How lovely.
gentleman, Mark Fox, and I figured, oh, this is great. You know, I think International Tony Bennett Appreciation Society. I thought, where is he?
Wonderful.
New York, Los Angeles? So I emailed him back, by the way, where are you? And he
Yeah.
said, Heckman White, Yorkshire.
Oh, Yorkshire. Oh, gosh,
So
yeah.
brilliant. But yeah, so great recognition because he heads this society, which is worldwide,
Yeah.
hence its name. So
That's
it sort of
brilliant,
brought
yeah.
me to a wider audience, as they say.
And also, we've discovered here we get a lot of tribute acts, a lot of tribute artists. And if the fans don't like what you do, you're dead in the water.
yeah.
But if the fans love you, it can really build up your career
That's
quite
right.
considerably.
Yeah, I mean, I don't sort of set out to be a tribute as such, although I do sort of get drawn into that a little
Yeah.
bit with all sorts of people
Yeah.
who sing in the same genre. But yes, you're right. You know,
Yeah.
it's the music I think people like that really go
Yeah.
for, and if you can pull it off. A lot of the tributes go for the look-alike thing, and
Yeah.
they can look the spitting image of somebody, but
they don't
if they can't
sound.
sing or
Yeah.
can't perform,
Yeah.
after a couple of numbers, the novelty's worn off, I think.
You're right. I mean, we've been lucky in the past couple of weeks. We've had someone who's officially recognised as the world's #1, Lady Gaga.
Oh, right.
And she was amazing.
Right.
Pink, and she was amazing, you know. The one that we haven't had yet is a Cher one. I've never seen a Cher one. I'm looking forward to that.
Right.
So you seem to sing all over the place. Do you do the cruise ships?
Yeah, I haven't done any, didn't do any last year.
Yeah.
Because I was just too busy, frankly, because I've started to get involved in a lot of weddings and things, so there's really not much time for cruising at the moment.
Well, we'll see what we can do about that.
Okay.
We'll be back in 2 minutes. There we go. Oh, no, we haven't. No, with that. Sorry, I went, right, go on, let's do that. Hi there, welcome back. Today I'm chatting to vocalist, swing vocalist in particular, Gary Grace. Gary, we've just said that you were very, very busy, so you didn't do any cruises last year, but looking at your bio, you do cruises, jazz clubs, weddings, theatres, big theatres, intimate venues. Where's your favourite venue? Where do you enjoy singing the most?
Theatre work is probably the best land-based work, if you like, simply because everybody is paid to come and see what you do.
Yeah.
And also everybody is sitting and listening.
Yeah.
Obviously, you do get a lot of venues, whether it might be a jazz club or something like that, where people might still be chatting, if you like, while you're on, and that kind of thing, or have come anyway, irrespective of what the entertainment might be. For example, at a wedding. Yeah. But theatres are where you get the attention of everybody, and obviously the pressure as well, because you have to perform with everybody's eye and ear on everything that you're doing. But that's my favourite type of performance, because it is really what you go into the business for, I think. And of course, you get the same on cruise ships in the cabaret lounges and theatres.
Oh, cruise ships, I think they're super. Tell me as well, and you don't need to give us any names, have you ever, and please tell me if you have you ever performed at a wedding where there's been a big row or a fight's broken out?
No, I have performed at a wedding where the bride didn't turn up for the wedding.
No! And you still performed,
well,
did you?
The groom had paid for it and decided it was still going to go ahead, the evening reception.
No!
So everybody sort of turned up. It was quite a quiet affair.
Yes!
But we still played, and it was just became like a dinner dance, if you like. But,
but
so
I bet it was a lot of hushed whispers. What, you know, why do you think he hasn't? Did you find out what happened?
No, I didn't. But I imagine that you're right, though. You could see all the conversation going on with some people probably saying, well, I knew she wasn't going to come, or he wasn't good enough for her, and all that kind of faction that goes on. But otherwise, I've never had a bad wedding experience.
Did he seem like a nice boy or a nice man?
I never saw him, because by the time we got there to play on the evening, you know, he...
Oh, so you never met him?
No, he didn't come to the...
He didn't come to the reception?
No, I would imagine he was a bit distraught.
Oh, gosh, that's absolutely awful. Yeah. Mind you, it's very telling that you can actually get insurance now in case one or the other doesn't turn up. So... that's...
well, yeah.
Oh.
So that was unusual.
Oh, very unusual. Yeah. Well, we're going to take a listen to just a clip now of a lovely song. Here we go, Gary Grace and Home.
Another summer's day has come and gone away, in Paris or Rome, but I wanna go home. Maybe surrounded by a million people, I still feel all alone, but I wanna go home. Girl, I miss you, you know. And I've been keeping all the letters that I wrote to you, each one a line or two. I'm fine, baby, how are you? And I would send them, but I know that it's just not enough. My words were cold and flat, and you deserve more than that. Another aeroplane, another sunny place. I'm lucky, I know, but I wanna go home. Just let me go home. Let me go home. I'm just too far from where you are. Wanna come home.
There we go, just a clip of Gary and Home. I love that song.
Yeah, great
Are
song.
you a fan of Bublé?
Yeah, absolutely.
You must be, mustn't you?
Yeah.
Now, we were saying you're very, very busy with weddings, and you featured on the television programme Don't Tell the Bride.
I did.
Tell us a bit about
Twice,
that.
actually.
Twice?
But the first time was by default, if you like, because we do get quite a situation when you do weddings where people, for whatever reason, they'll spend a fortune on ribbons on the back of a chair that nobody notices, but they want to skimp on their entertainment. And people quite often go down the route of finding the cheapest band they can. And on this occasion, they found a cheap band that hadn't got all the required insurance and pack testing things that we all need.
Right.
So the venue wouldn't let them in. So we had this emergency phone call. It was on a Sunday night. Could we come to Pinewood Studios for this wedding? And as it turned out, we were all free, so we went down and did it.
The Pinewood Studios? Oh,
and then when we got there, we realised it was going to be on TV, and we had to sort of sign our lives away for all of that. And it was fantastic. And at the time, I hadn't really heard of the programme because I think it was the first series, so there hadn't been anything to watch to see how it went. And you're always a bit suspicious of these reality TV.
And also suspicious about how you're going to be portrayed.
Absolutely right. So
reality.
I didn't actually tell anybody it was on until, because I knew it was going to be be repeated 2 or 3 times, as it has been. So I watched it first, and it was fantastic. So I thought, and then I told everybody it was on. Look out for it now, BBC. But it was great. And then a year or 2 later, I was asked to do it again. This time I knew in advance. So I was a bit more prepared for it.
Tell me, you've said it was at Pinewood Studios. Does it always end up at Pinewood Studios?
No. That was just Pinewood Studios has a wedding venue within its boundaries.
I didn't realise.
So a nice little ballroom, very nice Art Deco kind of thing. So it looked nice on the TV too.
Right.
And it was all good publicity for me. All nice commentary about the band.
Lovely.
And as you say, you never know with these reality things. You think they're going to say to the bride at the end, how was it? As you say, it was all great apart from that band. But luckily, she didn't say that. She loved it, so that was good.
Why do you think that this swing music is so popular at weddings?
I think because weddings are unique, and whenever I talk to prospective brides and grooms, and bearing in mind they've never managed an event in their lives before and probably never will again, and really don't know how to plan their evening. And I say, well, you don't really want a DJ pumping out the Kings of Leon from 7 o'clock onwards, because your evening is going to be your only night out. You're probably having a life with your grandmother and your niece at the same event.
That's a very good point.
Swing music kind of sets the scene, certainly during the early part of an evening, gets a good atmosphere. Everybody knows the music. Everybody can dance to it if they like. And then perhaps towards the end of the night, you can have your DJ doing everything else for your hardcore people.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm not a fan of, not DJs, but, a disco, whatever. But we're going to take a listen to, we've talked about weddings, so let's take a listen now to Gary Grace and a wedding compilation.
It's time to say goodnight to Napoli. Oh, it's hard to rush to whisper what I said. With that old man about that minute or in your seat. You know what, the senorita will go walking where the mountains of the moon come into sight. By that little jewelry shop will stop and linger while I buy a wedding ring for your finger. In the meantime, let me tell you that I love you. Buonasera, senorita, kiss me goodnight. So you're back. Mr. Bojangles, come back and dance. And dance, please dance. Mr. Bojangles, side of Chicago. It's the baddest part of town. And if you go down there, you better just beware of a man they call Leroy Brown. Now Leroy's caught in trouble. Stood about 6 feet 4. All the downtown ladies call the trade shop lover, and the studs just call him sir. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York.
How lovely. What a beautiful dress the bride was wearing. That looked such a happy wedding. Where was the venue?
It was a fabulous venue in Leicester, the Grand Hotel, an old Victorian building.
Yeah.
Awful loading because of that, but fabulous marble pillars and great high ceilings.
Yes.
Acoustic nightmare, but to get the sound, but absolutely fabulous.
It looked such a happy wedding. It was vintage themed.
Yeah, it was.
They
And
all
very
looked
glamorous.
Gorgeous, very glam. Okay, well, we will be back with Gary Grace in just a couple of minutes. Hi there, welcome back. Today I'm chatting to Gary Grace. What a fabulous voice. The band is great. Do you take your own band round with you?
I'm lucky I know so many really fantastic musicians around the country.
Yeah.
And literally working from Land's End to John O'Groats as I do
Yeah.
and beyond. I've managed to find musicians pretty much in every location that I need. So
That's
I
great.
do have musicians that I tend to use on a regular basis. But
Yeah.
occasionally, if I'm at the very corners of the UK, there's
Yeah.
people that close by that I can draw on that
But
don't
do
have
you
to
ever
go too
use
far.
backing tracks?
Very occasionally.
Right.
But I am a live singer mainly. So it's anything from a trio to an 18-piece band is what you'll normally see me with.
It's funny though, because I know, being in the business, you must be good to be able to, you know, take a band with you and to have it all. Do you have the dots, the music for them all, and they're all
sort
good
of written,
readers?
usually especially for me, by
Yeah.
a gentleman called David Carter, who was
Yeah.
Daniel Aru's musical director
Oh,
all his
right.
life.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, all the dots are there, and I read music too, so I can direct the
So you
band a
can do
little
it.
bit as to what I want from
Brilliant.
it. And that always goes down well as
I'm
well.
sure it does. You're just an all-round pro
That's right.
young man. And here he is again, singing. Which one are we doing now? New York.
You want to clap your hands? That'd be great. Come on, let's see you clap. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. And these vagabond shoes are longing to stray right through the very heart of it. New York, New York. I want to wake up in that city that doesn't sleep, to find I'm king of the hill and top of that heap. And these little town blues are melting away. I'll make a brand new start of it in old New York. If I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you. It's up to you, New York, New York, New York. Thank you very much. Good night and God bless. Thank you.
There we go, Gary Grace. And Gary, you sang recently in the world-famous City Varieties in Leeds, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
What was that particular booking in aid of?
It was actually in aid of the theatre itself, because
Right.
it had just undergone a massive refurbishment or regeneration at several £1 million.
Yeah.
And this was a concert did it kind of in reverse, that aimed at raising the money to pay for it after it had happened.
After, yeah.
It may not have been quite like that, but that's how I understood it.
Yeah.
It was through Equity, who I'm a member of.
Yeah.
And so quite a few of us, it was a multi-act variety performance. If you like, great people on, like Johnny Casson.
Oh, lovely.
And who was comparing myself and one or two other people. And so it's great to be part of that. Great venue, of course.
Yeah.
And raised quite a bit of money, I think, on the night too.
So is it now safe? Has it been renovated so that it's watertight and it's all...
Yeah, I think, and the balcony is not in danger of falling onto the people underneath and all those things that apparently used to be the case. But yeah, so it was all for a good cause, and still a great venue, of course.
Yeah,
so.
it's wonderful, isn't it? Well, it's just, it's a legend within the world of music and musical theatre. We've got a clip of you singing a little later with a colleague and a friend of yours. If you had a choice of duetting with someone, man or woman, who would it be?
Well, I think probably if I'm looking at people who would expect me to talk about the Sinatras and people like that, I'd love to do a duet with Tony Bennett, talking about him earlier. And he's someone that keeps releasing a duet album. And I nearly did get on one by default because, only joking, but when he was doing his duet album, he's one of the rare people that insists that people have to be in the studio with him to do a duet.
Oh, wow.
A lot of them do it by virtual means from other parts of the world, don't they? And he was doing it in London at Abbey Road, and we talked about Mark Fox earlier, the guy who's in charge of the society, and he was there. And Paul McCartney was due to go, but he couldn't make it. And so Mark Fox kindly said, well, I know a fellow that could come down and do it for you. Anyway, I never got asked. But that was as close as I've got to doing a duet with Tony Bennett. But yeah, he would be great. Michael Bublé would be great, of course, as well. But also Claire Teal. I would love to do a duet with Claire. Oh, she's
super. It's funny you say they do it virtually. They do it from all different parts of the world. They sometimes do it from beyond the grave as well, don't they?
Well,
like, Nat King Cole and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, we're going to take a listen to you with another one now. And this is you singing with K Weston. Where did you meet K?
K's another cruise ship singer. That's how I know K. And so when I was doing this show, I sort of tried to make it, sort of break it up a little bit so it wasn't just me singing. Had an all-female band on the stage with me too, sax section and horn section. So I invited Kay to see if she would come along and do a duet with me, so she kindly agreed.
And she did? And here it is.
The way you wear your hat,
the way you sip your tea,
the memory of all that. No, they can't take that away from me. The way you smile just beams with that smile.
the way you sing off key,
Thanks very much. The way you haunt my dreams. No, they can't take that away from me. We may never meet again on that bumpy road to love.
but I'll always keep there we are.
The way you hold your lip,
The way we dance till three,
the way you changed my life. No, they can't take that away from me. No, they can't take that
we go. Gary with the lovely voice of K Weston. She's a good singer, isn't she?
Absolutely,
Looks
fantastic,
lovely.
yeah.
And you're a friend. You live near one of our lovely ladies that we've had, Michelle Montori.
That's right.
We love Michelle. Hello,
Doncaster girl.
Michelle. She's great, isn't
Yeah.
she? She's super. Now, I believe that you've worked with the legendary Tony Hatch.
That's right, yeah, 2 or 3 times, luckily.
Yeah, in what capacity? Has he been the MD or?
No, has done his own sort of one-man show. Well, not actually a one-man show, otherwise I wouldn't have been in it.
Yeah.
But sort of an audience with kind of thing.
Yeah,
And the story
yeah.
with Tony is I did a summer season out in Menorca,
Yeah.
which is where Tony lives.
Yeah.
And I was singing at one of the venues,
Yeah.
and then the word got to me that Tony Hatch was in the audience.
Yeah.
And my memory of Tony, of course, like a lot of people, would have been back to his New Faces days.
Oh,
when
of
he
course,
was
yeah.
obviously reckoned as being very critical, but
Yeah.
rightly so,
Yeah.
in the days when people weren't that critical of people on telly.
Yeah.
You had to tell everybody
He
was
was the
marvellous.
original Simon Cowell. wasn't
Yeah,
he?
but he was just honest, and that was
Yeah.
sort of refreshing.
Yeah.
But I thought, well, he's going to come up to me at the end and tell me it was horrible or something like that. But anyway,
No.
he didn't, luckily.
Yeah.
So he came and then asked me to be in a show that he was going to be doing in the UK
Yeah.
the following year, which was for the Variety Club, which,
Yeah.
of course, he's a very big member of.
Yeah.
So I managed to do a show with myself, Claire Sweeney,
Lovely.
and
Oh, yes.
Tony
she's
Hatch. So
a
it was
friend of
great.
mine. She's lovely, Claire. Well, we're going to take another quick break and we'll be back in just 2 minutes. Hi there, welcome back. Today I'm chatting to Gary Grace, a super swing vocalist. Just before I go back to Gary, let me remind you of this. This is our first time guide, or guide even, to cruise holidays. It's got all the answers to any questions you might want to ask about cruising. It's free of charge. If you call us on 0871 423 4444. The calls, though, they'll cost you, but it's not a lot of money. It's 10p a minute from a BT landline. Other networks and mobiles, they'll vary a bit. Or you can do it absolutely free by getting in touch with us on www.holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk. Right, back to Gary here. You say you worked in Menorca and you were connected there with Tony Hatch. How did your summer season there go?
Very good. I've actually done it twice now,
Right.
so clearly it must have been good the first time.
Yeah, yeah.
Met some great people, some of whom will be lifelong friends.
Yeah.
Other acts that were out there with me.
Yeah.
And it involved driving to different venues every night. So
Yes.
it did mean having to take all the gear over and drive
Yeah.
from Yorkshire to Barcelona. That was an experience.
Right, of course, because it'd be too much to fly it. It'd cost.
That's right, and
a
you need the
fortune.
mobility on the island
Yeah,
to get
yeah.
around too. But yeah, it's fantastic. Met some great people. Like I say, the other acts were there, but also some of the people that were just on holiday again.
Yeah.
I've sung at their weddings and anniversaries.
How lovely.
And it's been fantastic.
So Menorca isn't, I mean, not to be confused with Mallorca. Menorca's quite a small island, isn't it? And how many venues did you find yourself doing there?
Well, it was basically, ideally, you would do 12.
Yeah.
So it's on a fortnightly rota, but during the height of the season, you were literally working 14.
I was going to say, so you're working virtually every
yeah,
night, so
absolutely.
it's quite hard. Were you doing 2 spots a night or one?
It varied.
Yeah.
Some venues it was 2 45 minutes,
Yeah.
some it was just an hour, and
Yeah.
it's to all nationalities. Sometimes there were just Italians in the audience,
Yes.
and they're the best audience.
Are
They
they?
love
Really?
the music, absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And quite often just to Spanish, a few English,
Yeah.
but by and large I was doing the more international resorts on the island,
Yeah.
because the music sort of carried itself
Yes, yeah.
a bit more widely,
Yeah.
as opposed to just, there are some purely British areas
Yeah.
of the island too.
Were you able to take your wife over with you?
She came out every now and again. She
Yeah.
didn't come over with me because she has to earn her own living.
All right.
But yes, I know.
Oh.
But she came out because it's literally only an hour's flight away or
Yes,
something
it
like
is,
that. So that
yeah.
was great for the odd weekend or during the school holidays, because she was working with schools
Yeah.
for 6 weeks.
So you enjoyed your foray abroad.
Yeah.
Is it? Have you got anything this coming summer abroad,
No,
or cruises, or are you booked up with?
I'm pretty much booked because
Yeah.
since I began the wedding kind of scenario, which spawned a lot from being on Don't Tell the Bride.
Yeah.
Weddings by their nature tend to book you up to
Yeah.
a year in advance anyway.
Yeah.
So you tend to find the summer months.
Yes.
Everybody wants a summer wedding.
Yeah, they
So
do.
you pretty much have that booked every summer the year before. So it does limit to what else you can be
You
able
just
to do.
have to see if you can get on the Caribbean for the winter, because
Yes.
that's what happens,
Yes,
isn't
I
it? So have you ever worked with any other celebrities on board any of the cruise ships?
A couple, mainly the comedians, because
Yeah.
you don't tend to meet other singers, because
No,
obviously
'cause
that's
you're the
what
only
I'm
one,
doing.
yeah.
But Paul Daniels I cruised with once, and famously he was seasick halfway through his act, and well, suddenly he said, "Excuse me, I'm going to be sick," and off he went. And we thought it was part of the show, but no, he didn't come
Didn't
back.
come back?
And then classically, and my favourite ever person that I cruised with was Tom O'Connor.
Oh, he's
who I've
great,
cruised with
isn't
a couple of times, and we were on board. We both joined the ship at the same
Yeah.
time, and we were showing around the ship. And obviously, he's Tom O'Connor, and nobody really knows who I am, which is fair enough. And everywhere we went, you know, this is the stage, Mr. O'Connor, and this is the dressing room, Mr. O'Connor, and this is how you get here, and that. Is everything all right for you, Mr. O'Connor?
Yeah.
And bless him, he turned to the guy and said, "Well, you better ask Gary, because if it's all right with him, it's all right with me."
Oh,
I thought, what a
isn't that-
gentleman.
He is.
And he was a perfect gentleman throughout
Yeah.
the cruise, and,
Yeah.
and that was typical of him. So
Well, it's funny, I was lucky enough to be on board the QE2 when he was on board. I was recording for the BBC at the time, and he was a total gent, Tom O'Connor. A lovely, lovely man. But we're going to take a listen to your final song now. Now, this is one that I know is one of your favourites.
Yeah.
It's certainly one of my favourites. Here he is, Gary Grace, and Let Me Try Again.
You know, I said that I was leaving, but I couldn't say goodbye. It was only self-deceiving to walk away from someone who means everything on earth to you. You learn with every lonely day. I've learned, and now I'm back to stay. Let me try again. Let me try again. Think of all we had before, and let me try one more. We can have it all, you and I again. Please forgive me or I'll die. Please let me try again. I was such a fool to doubt you, to try and go it all alone. There's no sense to life without you. Now all I do is just exist and think about the chance I missed. To worry such an easy task, and pride is such a foolish mask. Let me try again. Let me try again. Think of all we had
Thank you very much.
Oh dear, that was gorgeous. Sorry, I'm still laughing. We were just all talking about ham shanks, and that isn't an acronym for anything, by the way, or whatever you call it, because I make good pea and ham soup. But my mum once, when I was away working, I was working abroad, and my husband lives in the same house. It's divided into two. And I rang her, I said, "You okay, Mum?" She said, "Yes, darling, I'm absolutely fine. Steve's marvellous." This is the long-suffering Steve, my husband. She said, "I've just been down and given him a nice ham shank."
Brilliant.
And I started laughing. And she said, "I don't know what you're laughing about, Deborah." I got the full time.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
a nice hot one.
Brilliant.
Oh, dear me. Right, you mainly specialise in swing, but you have got a get out of jail free card if you maybe, for an audience that maybe want something a bit different. You do other types as well.
Yeah, I mean, even in theatre I do, and on cruise ships I widen the repertoire to include songs from shows and anything you'd expect a male vocalist to do, from Elvis to Neil Diamond and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if we're out, for example, at a wedding or a function, and you sense that the audience who haven't come necessarily for the entertainment, so you've got to entertain them.
Yeah.
If we feel that maybe they've had enough swing music, particularly if I've got a good brass section with me, then we can drop a few of the soul numbers in as well, and all of that kind of thing, which I love to do.
So you're very, very versatile.
Yeah.
How can people get in touch with you to find out where you're going to be performing, or maybe get your music?
My website is very easy, www.garygrace.co.uk.
Marvellous.
And my email address is on there, and so on and so forth. So send me an email, and I have a mailing list on all those things that you have that tells you where I'm appearing.
No, it's funny. You can tell. I know you've been in the business for, even though it's only been 15 years, you've been in the business a long time. You're business-like. You know what you're doing. You've got marvellous live backing. You're a class act.
Thank you.
Now, in 5 seconds, what do you want the future to hold for you?
Oh, just more of the same.
Brilliant.
Really, Debbie?
Lovely.
Yeah.
Well, do you know, it's been a pleasure having you on today.
Thank you.
Really, really good. So from the wonderful Gary Grace and from me, Deb, until next time, take care.